Yeah, get comfy.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my God, you have those like Asian wooden
I
chairs?
know. Okay, so
That's
like each space of my house, it's like a complete different vibe. So my study is pure like Asian. We have this Asian, very Asian, like Manchu style sort of desk, which I use as my, desk. I have, this like Asian bed, like semi bed, semi couch, semi chaise. You know what I mean? Like where you can,
when you said Asian bed, I'm like wood, bamboo,
yeah,
like
like wood,
no mattress.
wood, bamboo, like a thick, no, it's like a hard, thin mattress, but it functions
Uh-huh.
as um, a couch, a bed, or something where it can just lounge, like a chaise longue.
My gosh, you sound like an emperor there.
Yeah, I mean, and then the only bit of Europeanness that I have is my gigantic bookshelves, and that's it. And then every room, every space of the house is like a vibe. So the vast majority of the house is like in that Italianesque, Tuscan, southern France sort of, vibe, decor and paints and all that. And then, but yeah, this is a Chinese room. This is a very Chinese room, apart from the mass behind being. But this is a very.
Yeah, what are those maps?
So I do have a habit of collecting antique stuff.
It's a great thing to
I
do.
know. I mean, I'm single. I just might as well start, and then I might as well start antiquing. Um, no, I do. I collect a lot of maps, like maps,
Hmm.
books, objets d'art. Yeah, so these maps are. I'm obsessed with Prussian, like 17th century, 18th century Prussian maps. So these are just maps of various places I like. That one's of Portugal and Brazil, obviously. This
Mm.
is one is about the Holy Roman Empire, and I have one that you can't see. That's the Kingdom to Sicily. So basically, Sardinia, Sicily, Tunisia, southern Italy, Malta, and then I have one for the Baltic states. So Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Um,
Okay, so when I'm in Vancouver and you're in Vancouver, I want to get this like house tour.
sure, sounds good. It can be arranged.
You know what? Let's just get going.
Sure, yeah,
Get this
yeah.
going. If
So
that's okay.
yeah,
Hello, and thank you for tuning into Slice of Anecdote, your hub for raw stories and deep insights for the everyday human. I am your host. My name is Harry. Today, I have a special guest, and his name is Roy. Roy, do you mind introducing yourself?
sure. Hi everyone. Hi Harry. Thanks for having me on this podcast. So my name is Roy. I am a first generation immigrant. I'm from Vancouver, Canada originally, but now, the world is my oyster. I travel a lot with my work, so I'm often in Asia, I'm often in Europe. Yeah, that's me.
I love that. We have so many similarities, and I think that's why our friendship kind of
Hmm.
blossomed. And since we like met through a
Hmm.
friend, I think one of our very first meeting was actually in Oxford when I was still studying, and you happened to be in the
Yeah.
city, and we went for food. Do you remember what cuisine that was?
Did we go for food? I thought we went for drinks.
No, we went for food and then we went for drinks.
Oh,
Wow.
oh yeah, yeah.
I was apparently very memorable.
No, no, no. You know what though? You took me to an Ethiopian restaurant.
Yeah, that one was
It
pretty
was
good.
good.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay.
You took me to an Ethiopian restaurant, and then we walked for like 20 minutes or so, and then we went to a bar, and then we had a drink
Hmm.
or three. Um, yeah, so that was that. Yeah, that was our first time meeting.
We had so many like shared stories because I'm also first generation immigrant and trying to impress our parents while we're here, trying to be successful, but you're on a totally different trajectory. Like your portfolio is so impressive to me. It's there's like so many interesting stories of you that I feel like it can be shared. And there's so many different projects that you're currently doing that you are sharing
Hmm.
bits and pieces of your
Hmm.
story.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah.
Can you kind of like guide me through how you ended up in Europe? Like, I mean, you're first generation to Canada. What is the timeline here? Like,
Okay.
can you kind of guide me
Yeah,
through?
sure. I was born in northeastern China, so our family were, my parents are well read, went to university for that generation, but we came to Canada when I was 7 years old. We came as economic migrants.
Mm,
So we were all of a sudden thrown into a brand new environment. We were frugal. We work hard to put food on the table, so to speak. And
absolutely.
I think that's probably a struggle or that's an experience that you identify with as well.
Yeah.
And, I went through schooling, I went through, all that stuff that, all the hoops that we have jumped through. And then, so I did my bachelor in UBC. I did
Mm,
a double major in international relations and French language and literature. And it has always been my dream to go to Europe. And the chance came in 2011. I went to Paris for an exchange program at Sciences Po Paris, and because I was prepping myself for that, I was learning French, I was doing all the grammar exercises. I participated in the Explore program that brought me to Quebec, and I stayed in Quebec. I found a job after the program. I was all in all in there for 6 months. I had a very clear personal goal that is to get myself to Europe somehow. And the
yeah.
route I chose was through, of course, through university, through education. So yeah, so during my third year at UBC, I did this exchange at Sciences Po, and that was honestly a dream come true. It was really a dream come true. I was this little boy and I was only 18 years old. Yeah, I was only 19 years old when I moved to Paris. All of a sudden, I'm being launched into this environment that I've always dreamt about. So yeah, so I was,
Mm,
so fascinated. I was so captivated. I just loved everything. And after that 1 year exchange, it became very clear to me that I wanted an international career. And for me to have that, I need to have more international experience. And of course, when you're that age, when you're still trying to go through your schooling, your education, basically master's programs and whatnot, internships are the only way at my disposal. So then comes my graduation in 2013. I was very lucky. There was this opportunity where the Canadian Foreign Services were hiring fresh graduates, mainly for master's level graduates. But I was very lucky. I fought hard. I went through the application process. I went through the interviews. So I was basically selected. UBC sponsored me, nominated me. So I was basically
wow.
sponsored to participate in this program. And so I was in European institutions for quite some time, for almost a month, visiting each institutions. So we went to Brussels, Strasbourg, Frankfurt, Luxembourg, and at the end of this tour, if you will, I secured an internship at the Canadian Embassy to Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. So I became one of the youngest person to sort of work in Canadian Foreign Services. I was only 21 years old at that time. And that sort of
Mm,
worked
mm,
quite well with my academic planning because I was going to go to London for my master's anyway. Yeah, so between my bachelor and my master, I did that internship and I joined foreign services. I did my exams. I completed the internship, and then in September of that year, that brings us to September of 2013, I started my master's program in London. And then, yeah, the story went on. I did my PhD in Vienna. And right now, a lot of my work brings me to Lisbon and Budapest. So that's why in the very beginning I said I'm from Vancouver, Canada originally, but I do travel a lot around Europe mainly. Yeah. So that's how I ended up living in Europe.
that sounds like such an adventure, and I haven't had that type of adventure until much later in
Hmm.
life, and you had it a little bit more at 19.
Hmm.
I think your background is very interesting in terms of
Hmm.
family-wise. My family is not educated as
Hmm.
yours, I would
Hmm.
say, because both of my parents did not graduate high
Hmm.
school, and they just did a lot of business
Hmm.
in China, and then immigrating was investment citizenship.
Hmm.
I don't even know if that's the correct
Hmm.
term for
Hmm.
it. In terms of like how both of our starting points is relatively
Hmm.
similar, but like because of our parents'
Hmm.
background, it just kind of looks like there is a very different like catapult direction for their kids, right? Because I think the influence of your parents, because they're more educated than mine, um, they probably influenced a lot of like, oh, suggestions and how you could proceed on like your education and stuff. Whereas my parents is just like, oh, just get an office job
Mm,
and like
mm,
do XYZ,
mm,
and then like that's just how they think of like success, right?
mm.
I think that's very interesting, at least for
I
me.
think I think what's interesting about my family and about my parents is that my okay, I'll use my dad as an example. So he's now in his mid 60s. Um,
Yeah.
he came from a very small village, a very, very poor village in Inner Mongolia, in China.
Mm.
Till this day, he's still the only university graduate. That's how poor and how secluded that place is. Till this day,
Yeah. Crazy.
he didn't went to school because there weren't schools available. He didn't have textbooks, so he was just self-taught. He tried to, get any resources that he could. He tried to apply for university 4 times, so that's why he started university quite late. And then
Mm.
he went to the university of my hometown, which is a big city at that time, and that's how he met my mom. So if you look at my dad's trajectory, he really came from nothing. I mean, had he not have gone through this process, I would be, herding sheeps in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I would be lucky if I have
Hmm.
sheeps. So, and then, yeah, right? And then my parents went to university. They were part of the intelligentsia. My dad worked in the government. My mom worked in the bank. So at that time, they were very well off. But then coming to
Mm.
Canada, coming to this brand new environment, we
Yeah.
don't speak the language. When I first came to Canada, I thought there was like 18 letters in the alphabet. I can't even recite my alphabet in its entirety. My
Oh, same.
right, my parents' English was very poor. We came with renminbi and then we exchanged it into Canadian dollars and US dollars. And we didn't dare to touch those savings. Those were backup savings. Those were for emergencies. So we were very frugal and they worked blue collar jobs in the very beginning. My dad works as a high school janitor. My mom works as a nanny and a cleaning lady. And we work really hard to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I don't want to you know,
I can
make it
relate.
very dramatic,
Yeah.
but it was the reality that we lived through, that you lived through, that many of us lived through, be it Chinese immigrants or other Asian immigrants or other European immigrants. But I think what's very clear for
Hmm.
us was that we had a very clear goal. The reason why they came to Canada was because they thought Canada, being in the West, would be a better place for me. I would get a
Hmm.
better education. I would be able to see more things. I would be able to
Hmm.
experience more things. I would be able to seize more opportunities.
Yeah.
Things
Which you
which
did.
I did, which I did. So we all
Yeah.
came with a very clear goal, and we all play our part. You know what I mean? And I don't
Hmm.
mean this in a very, oh, like family, this, guilt tripping you. No, I took on these responsibilities. I took on these goals and visions at my own initiative, at my own will, and we all play our part. And yeah, so I'm pretty happy. I'm a lucky guy. I'm very grateful for my parents' contribution and for the sacrifices. But I also work very hard to get to the point where I am today.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a really good relationship with your parents from the very beginning in terms of like the communication
Mm,
aspect of like where your goals
mhm,
are when you guys move to Canada.
mhm,
It doesn't sound like that's something that I could definitely relate to my
mhm,
parents, but where my parents came to Canada is just like obviously they can give me a different experience, better life. People they hear from their friends and family saying like if you go to the West, there's more opportunities. And other reasons is because my mom wanted a new life
mhm,
for her and my dad
mhm,
because my dad is a very naughty man.
mhm,
At the end of the day, it didn't work
mhm,
out, which is
mhm,
fine. But it just seems like there's like just different um intelligence. I don't know if it's intelligence is the right word, but like different like baseline to
mhm,
start off with,
mhm,
like between you and your
mhm,
dad, and you and your mom coming to Canada have like this goal of like,
mhm,
this is where we're starting. We have a certain goal that we want to get
mhm,
right. And I'm not saying my parents didn't,
mhm,
like they did a lot of business in Canada
mhm,
as
mhm,
well, which allowed me to influence a lot of my well-being and growth as
mhm,
well.
mhm,
And growing up in Canada, I don't know about you, but I definitely experienced a lot of this Asianness
mhm,
and confusing my identity with the environment
mhm,
around me.
mhm,
So because I kind of grew up in more or less in small city, a
mhm,
very white dominant
mhm.
city, what is your experience living as an Asian in Europe compared to North America, you think?
I'll respond to this question in two parts. First of all, I think growing up in North America, I totally understand where you're coming from. I did have that identity crisis. Like, am I Chinese? Am I
Mm.
Canadian? I do speak English. I do
Mm.
speak French. I grew up in a, like you, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood.
Yeah.
I grew up in Commercial Drive, so Little Italy, Little Portugal, and there was a Croatian Culture Center. So I vibe with them quite well. And but
Mm.
am I Canadian? At that time, I wouldn't call myself European, but am I Chinese? And it was awkward and interesting because I'm too white to be a Chinese, but then I'm too
Hmm.
Chinese to be a white Canadian, if that makes sense.
We're total
Yeah,
bananas.
total bananas. But I have some issue with that word banana because I do speak the Chinese language. I can read, write, speak, listen, no problem. And I
Yeah.
do practice a lot of the traditional, traditions and customs and whatnot. I celebrate the festivals, but then it's that constant, and then I'll give you a very silly example. Like in the math class, for example, in AP calculus, obviously you're Chinese because you're very good at it. I got 100% throughout my math career, my calculus career,
Hmm.
but I didn't really like it. But white kids see you as a Chinese kid because you're Chinese, that's how you look. Then understandably, you get 100%. And they obviously
Hmm.
struggle. But when I'm going to the French class in high school with my white friends, white classmates, but the other Chinese people or Taiwanese people will be like, oh, Roy is, living his European fantasy. He's so out of touch. And quite frankly, I was living my European fantasy. And
Hmm.
that fantasy obviously came true. So,
Hmm.
so I understand what you're talking about, this, conflicting identity, which they both exist simultaneously. And at times they are in peaceful coexistence. In other times they are, very conflicting. And that has given me a little bit of emotional sort of toll when I was growing up. Now, the second part to your question is compare contrasting being Asian in Canada and by extension North America and being Asian in Europe. I think as an adult, processed all my processes and thoughts and
Yeah.
conflicts, if you will. So I am currently at a much better, much confident position to share my experience, to talk about my identity. I think what sets Canada apart from Europe is how they see and how they embrace diversity and POCs. So in Canada, we're a very diverse
Mm.
country. We celebrate our multiculturalism. Like that's so ingrained in our mind, and we learn it at school. And
Yeah.
we mingle, right? Like again, I'm Chinese, growing up on Commercial Drive. There's Portugal, there's Italy, there's Croatia, there's obviously Indians, and I also have Chinese friends. And we were able to mingle quite well, all whilst maintaining our own unique cultural and ethnic identity. I think in Europe is not a diverse country. It's obvious is because it's not a country. Europe is a diverse continent, but
Yeah.
each country can be quite homogenous. At least 20 years ago.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
when you are Chinese, you really stick out.
Really stick
It
out.
really
Yeah.
stick out, and I think and with that it comes a unique set of challenges, benefits and challenges,
Right.
right? So I think Canada as a country, Europe as a continent, and of course I can talk about various individual European country where I lived and studied and worked. We are culturally and historically rich, but in different ways. We are diverse and multicultural in different ways. So for me as a POC, as a minority, I had to adjust myself in a different way, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Do you experience any discrimination, racism, like directly in your face, or is it usually kind of hush hush
You mean
in
in Europe?
Europe
Okay.
compared to, yeah.
I think for me, for the most part, I've been spending my entire adult life in Europe. I think for the most part, it was okay. It was easy. Paris, I went to really good school. I dressed well. I spoke French. I did well at school. So I fit right in. Although France, one can argue, I hope people don't hate me for saying this, one can argue that France is not the most friendly country. towards foreigners. In London, it
Yeah.
was the same thing. Luckily, language wasn't an issue. I had a great program. I had a great cohort. I had a great job. So after Riga, I moved to the Canadian High Commission in London. I managed to secure full-time employment, and I was transferred from Riga to London. And yeah, I had great colleagues, so that was okay. That was not an issue. Now, with Portugal, Hungary, it was fun. They're cool. I visit them very often. I have a lot of work and dealings there. I think the only place where I had some issue was in Austria, and I was in Austria
Okay.
for 4.5 years whilst I was doing my PhD.
Hmm.
I think it's not that Austrians are racist per se. It's just that they are very close-minded. They live in their little bubble. So when this
Hmm.
random and of course, mind you that Chinese migrant, I'm just using Chinese as a specific example. Every culture, every ethnicity has a different experience. Mind you that the Chinese immigrants coming to Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, and one would argue the UK, it's very different from the Chinese in, say, continental European countries. They tend to
Hmm.
work blue collar jobs. They tend to run restaurants. They tend to run supermarkets, which means that they're not very well integrated into that local white dominant society. It's not like in here in Canada we have Chinese MPs, we have Chinese MLAs, we have Chinese ministers, if you will. So
Yeah.
when all of a sudden you go to a very good school, you're all suited up, you are going to these venues that are mainly for, the local white society, then you stick out.
Hmm.
And then with that comes questions, side eyes, looks. And some people are just purely curious. I was like, oh, where is this Chinese guy, Canadian guy, whatever Chinese Canadian coming from? But sometimes, the way, because they don't have that sensibility, they don't have that sort of, the thing that we have. So
Hmm.
sometimes the stuff they say, the stuff they do can be seen as discriminatory or even racist. So that was that. But overall, I think the past 10 or something years, Europe has been easy on me and I've I blended quite well. I think the language definitely helps.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that they are able to like communicate with you and that you have a very non-Asian accent when you're speaking English, I think that really helps. Do you think you're kind of giving, maybe sometimes I'm being too nice when I'm doing that? It's like, oh, am I just being too nice? Just thinking like, oh, they're just probably curious or they're just probably um uneducated or just unable to open up their minds to like new experiences and stuff like that.
That's a good question. I feel like over the past 10 years or so living in Europe, I think I've learned the ability to distinguish whether or not you are purely racist or discriminatory,
Hmm.
or whether you
Hmm.
are intellectually curious, you want to ask me something, but you didn't ask me in a very sensible, nice way. And then I
I
can
see.
also distinguish between obviously you're so fascinating and I want to know more about you.
Yeah.
And of course, if you are genuinely curious about me, about my background, my experience, my ethnicity, my culture, of course, even if you say something or do something in a not so nice way, in a not in not in a very sensible way, I'm able to distinguish that. And obviously, I'm not mad. If I'm in a
Hmm.
good mood, I will teach you how to address me properly. If I'm just want to carry on the conversation, then I just pretend I didn't hear anything and then I just respond to your questions. With racist or discriminatory remarks or actions or behaviors, it depends. Sometimes I do make a stand. Sometimes I don't because I don't, not in the sense that I'm bowing down to them or I'm checking out. It's I don't because it's not my job to teach you. That's your mother's.
Sometimes it's just not
It's
worth
not
it.
worth it. That's your mother's job. That's your teacher's job. That's your society's job. That's not my job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
with that, I don't
Hmm.
teach you. Why am I wasting my time educating you? So yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I learned that
That's very
ability.
true.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about this
Mm,
offline previously, a little bit more about your
mm,
career. And I kind of described to you about some of my struggles of wanting to do things that is within my parents' footsteps, but a lot more different in the realms of business, and they kind of pushed me towards a different route. And here I am trying to do a little bit of business again. And it was like I feel like, it's just part of my soul. So like just let me do it so then I don't have like this regret in my heart at the end of the day,
Mm,
right? And you mentioned something really interesting to me previously was about just like carving your own
mm,
path versus like following family business, and like there's no shame towards
mm.
that. Can you kind of chat to me a bit more about those thinking?
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So I have, as I said, I think in the beginning, I have three jobs, one main job and two side jobs that keep me very busy. And my main job is I'm running my family business. We
Mm.
are a proud family-based, Vancouver-based consulting firm, and we promote international education, cultural exchange, and youth mobility for students of at all levels and of all ages, from Greater China, from North America, and from Europe. So basically, we work with a lot of partners, institutions, and directly with the family. So we do that. That's my main job. I think in the very beginning, I was very against this idea of joining my family business. Now, from the very get-go, this business was founded 13, 14 years ago. And from the very
Hmm.
get-go, I play a big part of it because my parents' English to this day, unfortunately, is not very good.
Yeah.
So, and because
Yeah.
we promote international education, so I basically do all the non-Chinese part. Basically, it was my job to,
That's wild.
and again, mind you, I was like 19 or 18. So it was my
Yeah,
job
yeah.
to liaise with potential partners and institutions. It was my job to fill out application forms, visa applications, study permit application, etc. It was my job to take the kids on tour in Europe, in North America, and etc. So I was very heavily involved, but I was always behind the scene, behind the curtain, and I made it very clear to myself and to my parents that, this is your job and I'm very happy to support you, but I'm not going to do this. And I think my initial rejection and hesitation mainly came from the fact that I want to prove to myself and I wanted to prove to people around me that my success was not built upon my parents' foundation. Like I didn't write on their
Yeah.
coattails, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I had my dreams and my aspirations, which again was becoming a diplomat. And my job was that one day when I'm in my 40s, mid 40s, early 50s, that I will be a Canadian ambassador to a European country. That's always been my job.
Hmm.
Sorry, that was always been my goal. And
Yeah.
and for me, it was achieving this goal meant that I made it for myself. I scored 100% in my life. My parents didn't make all the sacrifices for nothing, and I am a successful first generation immigrant. So there was that. And whilst I was in London, I was working at the Canadian High Commission, and then in the end, I also did a quick law degree. I interned at two international law firms because I was exploring whether or not I want to work in diplomacy in public sector or in the private sector in the legal field because I always want to be a lawyer as well. So I was either a lawyer or diplomat. After exploring all of that, and also I think that process helped me to mature quite a bit. And I think in the end, I felt that sense of family duty, that legacy, and quite frankly, the income, the money.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, though? I think I helped my parents to build this foundation, and now they're retiring. So there's nothing wrong, there's no shame with me of taking over this family business. Grow,
Hmm.
grow it in a way, expand it in a way that suits my vision, that suits my value, and that suits my interests and strengths. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, at this point, I don't, as long as I'm satisfied with myself, I've also learned not to care too much about what people think about me because I used to care a lot.
Yeah.
And that kind of drives me insane sometimes,
Absolutely.
even if when I'm satisfied with myself, I was like, oh, does does Bob or does George or does Amy or does Michelle, are they satisfied
Yeah.
with me? my grandma, my cousin, my next door neighbor, the kids I grew up with, my ex colleagues, my ex classmates. But now I've learned that, there's nothing wrong with taking over a family business. I'm here to build a thing that lasts. I felt that family duty. I want to build a legacy for myself and my children in the future. So there's nothing wrong with it. And also during this time, as I got to work in the Canadian Foreign Service, I see a lot of things I don't like about public
Mm,
diplomacy. As I went into private sector, again, I said that, I interned at two international law firms. One, I worked at their natural resources department because of my languages, and the other one, I worked in an immigration department again because of my languages. And I also see the cons of working in that
yeah.
field. And then, so I was like, you know what though? And then I did an evaluation. I did a cost benefit analysis.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying working in the family business is the best, but overall, I think for me at this point, I think in the end, I chose to return to my family business. And like I said, I'm still building something for myself as well, outside of the scope of this family business. I have two side projects, and that keeps me alive. That gives me originality. That allows me to use my creativity. That allows me to build something completely from scratch on my own with my bare hands. And I'm happy about it. So right now I'm 100% satisfied with my jobs, and I'm very grateful. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in such a great place after going through a lot of hurdles and a lot of what ifs and a lot of, oh, I want to get my dreams going, but you have already this like experience of, family business that you have helped along from the get-go, from the foundation. And I think it's really, really applaudable of your parents to take on this type of business when they actually don't speak the language, when it's absolutely necessary
Hmm.
for them to speak the language, which is wild to me. Like how they like wanted to get into this at the very first part.
Actually, my parents were gonna go into a very early retirement at around 2012, 2013, because previously they were in another field, and they managed to get enough savings, so they were happy with their
Hmm.
life. The impetus, I guess, the catalyst of them entering into this business, and you said it very correctly, this is not a business that you would assume two immigrant parents who don't speak English very well would get
Yeah.
themselves into. It was largely because of me, because when I graduated from high school, I got a lot of scholarships. I got a Canadian Millennium Scholarships. I met the Lieutenant Governor. Met the Governor General, so that was a big thing. And then, people, our family friends, the Chinese community here in Vancouver, our circle of friends, they were looking up to me as sort of like a role model, if you will. I
My
mean,
God, their kids must hate you. They're like, ah, comparing me to Roy all the time.
yeah, I was that neighbor's kid, you know what I mean? And a lot of people just came to my parents for parenting
Mm,
advice, for, help with university
okay.
applications. So it went from ad hoc phone calls here and there, obviously for free, helping friends out, helping a friend of a friend, helping a cousin of a cousin. You know how Chinese family works, right? Chinese friend
Yeah.
circle works.
Just
To
spreads like wildfire.
renting our, yeah, and to renting our first office, to now having offices in various cities in China and also here in Vancouver. So it just grew quite quickly because my parents, ultimately, in essence, was very altruistic, because, people just came for advice, and my parents were giving advice for free, sharing my experience, how I apply for scholarships, how I apply for universities, why did I have the audacity to choose, to quote unquote white majors, being international relations and French language and literature, because Chinese kids usually do accounting, engineering, doctors, and nurses. So yeah, so that grew into something very quickly. So that's how they got into it. And now, of course, this is a business, but in the very beginning, it was very altruistic. It was about helping friends and family out. It was about sharing experience, because you have to understand, and I know you do understand, that we're immigrants. We have to help
Yeah.
each other out, especially our parents. I assume your parents'
Yeah.
English is
No.
much better than my parents. My dad doesn't speak a word of English,
Yeah.
honestly. So, but even if, like, your parents who speak
They don't.
English well or
They don't.
fluently, they don't. Okay, but well, with an accent, with a heavy accent, but still, we need to help each
Yeah,
other out.
absolutely.
Because the fact that we're not white, because the fact that we don't speak English
Hmm.
fluently, means that our opportunities, our resources, our informations are
Very
limited.
limited. Yeah. I had to figure out a lot of
Exactly.
stuff for them. Like, for example, because they own like grocery stores and wholesales and try to sell to restaurants. And if anything does go wrong and be like, oh my gosh, the fridge is broken, they would just call me of like, okay, I have to somehow figure it out. Like, who do I call to fix the fridge for a commercial fridge versus like an at-home fridge? It's like, okay, well, I guess the at-home fridge person doesn't do commercial things. So it's like, okay, so do you know anybody? Like, I need to figure this out. When I give like these type of jobs to my sister, she's like, I don't get it. What do I do? I was like, well, now you have technology. Google that shit. Like, I had to figure it out myself. Like,
That is so right. You know, back in the days, we have those like really thick yellow
yep, yeah,
pages,
phone books.
phone books. I have to flip through them
Exactly.
to look for things. I've been translating at doctor's office, at
Period.
banks, at governmental offices, at
100%.
passport offices at the age of like what, 9 or
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Even till this day, I still pay my, our house's TELUS
Yeah.
bill, BC
Yeah.
Hydro bill. My parents cannot pay their
Yeah,
bills.
exactly. Yeah, me and you do like the exact same multiple hats. We're administration for our family. We fix things. We get people to come in and fix our things,
Translator,
translator, whatever, like business
the
person. Exactly,
copywriter,
like whatever it
yeah,
is they need.
yeah.
And yeah, it's really funny. Um,
But I,
go for it.
but I think, sorry
No,
to
no, no.
interrupt. I think it was a good experience for both of us because
Absolutely.
that's what makes us so competent,
Hmm.
so mindful, and so resilient.
Hmm.
Because we've been through a lot of stuff that, I don't want to single out the white folks, but they haven't lived through. You know, they were playing scratch cards or trading hockey cards or getting their driver license and whatnot. Sorry, I don't want to perpetuate stereotypes, but that was their reality.
Right.
Our realities were very different. We were going to Hastings, we were going to Victoria and 40 something to get, discounted groceries.
Hmm.
We were translating a hospital. We learned all the diseases, all the infections. We learned all the, the blood, the urine, the whatever
Yeah.
at a very young age.
Yeah.
So today, I mean, obviously they learn as well at different times,
Hmm.
through different ways. But we learn it through this way, this unique hard way rather.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us so resilient. We can take on a lot of things these days.
Yeah, it kind of like made me not afraid to ask if I don't understand something because that's what I've been doing when I was young, right? Like going to a doctor's office, like they just throw medical jargon at you all the time. It's like, all right, can you tell me in a little bit different English so that I understand, please? Um, yeah, it's a lot of those type of communication and cultural exchanges. And I remember when I was doing a lot of business translations with my parents, they were I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but they would throw a lot of their emotions at the translator, aka me. And then I
Hmm.
can't necessarily throw that type of emotion back, right?
Hmm.
I'm trying to meet my mom's Chinese way of standard of cheap, fast, and right now. And then Canada is like not now, not cheap, and like at least it's
Yeah,
pretty good quality, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it gets like transition to me and I just didn't know how to like translate that frustration to those people. I don't know if you ever had
yeah.
that experience.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. And I see that in our family business as well. I think, again, going back to the initial hesitation, I think one of the challenges that I face with a family business is this whole, you know, parents versus son thing. Are we colleagues? Are we parents and son? Are we partners? What are we? And sometimes one relationship, one power dynamic might override the other one.
Yeah.
And I experienced in a very, like you said, when I was young, I experienced the same thing, because I grew up with white kids. I grew up on Commercial Drive. I went to, white schools in Vancouver and then in Delta. So my brain is very white, if you will.
Mm.
And I do things. I like filing. I like printing. I like stapling things. My things are very organized, what that's how schools taught us.
Yeah.
That's how our environment taught us. I know how to fill out the forms, but sometimes, as you rightfully said so, that it's not about translation. Obviously, I know both
Yeah.
languages. It's about that expectations in which things should be done.
Yeah. And like the
And it's
delivery
that
and
yeah, exactly. The delivery, the results,
hmm
the expectations. And there's a discrepancy between the West and the East, between
absolutely.
China and Canada, between China, Canada, and Europe.
hmm
And I'm just trying to bridge that gap. I'm trying to bridge that sort of discrepancy to the best of my ability. I've been doing that since the age of 7. I'm 34 years old right now. It's been quite a few years in the making.
Yeah. High five for that. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I should have asked you this a little bit before. Did you have any
Mhm.
type of interesting cultural shock when you first moved to Canada or Europe that you've like immediately noticed on top of your head? I think for me, it was like, why do kids get grounded here? What do you mean
Mm.
grounded? We get different type of punishments where I'm from, but we get beaten. But but yeah, they just get like, yeah, you're grounded for 2 weeks. And I had to learn. I was like, what is grounded? And they would tell me anything between like not allowing to watch TV or can't go out for 2 weeks. I was like, oh yeah, like what did you do? And they would tell me, it's like, yeah, I just like swore at my mom or like threw something at her. I was like, oh my God, I would have died.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah, I think that's like
I
definitely
was
one of
in
my
very
cultural shocks for me.
yeah. I feel like no, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm,
You know, my parents love me. As you can see, I have a very close relationship with my parents.
yes.
I was a little bit of a naughty child when I was growing up. I was just very physically active. I was getting myself in a lot of, troubles and all that. But Chinese parents, Chinese family in our culture is tough love.
Yeah.
If you do something that's very inappropriate and wrong, you get a good spanking.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And you cry and then you move on
Yeah.
and you learn, okay, not to do this again.
Yeah.
It's like Pavlov's dog, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's learning by experience. Whereas white kids, yeah, they're grounded. I never understand what that means. I still don't, or like sit in the corner. If you're like really small kid,
Oh,
you like
yeah,
go
yeah,
sit in the
yeah. What
corner.
does that do?
And like time out. I'm like, okay, so I'm still in this space. Like, what does that do exactly?
Yeah.
So I can't sit on the couch. I have to sit on a little, whatever, a
A
stool or like a
stool.
bench by the corner. Like I don't like. I think
Doesn't
there's
make sense.
there's that.
Yeah. So
I
funny.
think yeah, like growing up, definitely white kids have a lot of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can go out, they can have sleepovers,
Yeah, I didn't
they
have
can go
that.
out for movies. Oh no, sleepovers for me is absolutely not
No.
allowed. They have movie nights with their friends, girls night out, boys night out. They can get a driver license when they're 16 years old.
hmm
I believe it or not, throughout my entire high school career, I never had any sleepover. I never watched any movie in the cinema with classmates.
Wow.
There was one time I will remember, I think it was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was it's
Just
either the second or the third movie.
okay.
And I was like graduating from high school, so I was already grade 12. And I already planned something.
Yeah.
And then I asked my family for permission, and they were like, "Oh, since you love Harry Potter so much, then yeah, you can go and watch it in a neighborhood cinema." I didn't dare to go to like Metrotown or
Mm.
like the downtown. But in the very end, my family said, "No, you can't go. It's not safe. You should be home studying right now. You're applying for university, you know." And yeah, so in the end, I bailed out and I felt bad for my friends and I'm very disappointed and pissed off
Yeah.
at my family because they said, yeah, I could go, but then in the end they said, no, you can't go. Um, but yeah, see, I never had this. I only got my driver license when I was 18 years old. I never had that parking lot, underage drinking. I never had that.
Wow. Yeah, your parents
Yeah.
are strict in a very different way at the same time.
Very strict in a
Yeah.
very different way.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do international relations and French literature,
hmm
but I can go to the parking lot. I can go to the
Right?
cinema.
You're allowed to fill forms for them and be consultants and can't go see the
Yeah.
movies and go can't do
Yeah.
sleepovers.
No, never had a sleepover, never.
Oh my gosh. That's so, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes make it make sense in my head. But hey,
Yeah.
we're still okay. We're still okay. We're still kicking and alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next question is it's related to your job, I guess, and your career,
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
find it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
And you have told me that you're more or less responsible for the European market, correct?
Yeah.
In the light of the current global political climate, what are your
Mhm.
current thoughts of like international education? Because in the last maybe like 10 to 20 years, I think Chinese international students, and not just Chinese, I guess most Asian students would come to the West or even in Europe and just pump out degrees year after year. And I guess the West
Mhm.
like really saw this as like a gold opportunity to raise up a lot of the international fees. And UBC is a really, really good example to raise the tuition as really crazy high for international
Yeah.
students, right? And that's
Yeah.
not, it's the
Mhm.
same for Europe. What do you think about like the current future, because now that it seems like China and some Asian countries may be like catching up to,
Mhm.
that type of intelligence, do you
Mhm.
still see a lot of this need right now of international degrees, or education's a little
Mhm.
bit changing? Yeah, what's your thoughts?
Mhm. Okay, yeah. So I will sort of respond to this question in a more broader perspective.
Or
Um, and again, maybe I'm biased because I benefited from international education. I feel like international education is here to stay,
mm,
be it Chinese students or Asian students coming to Canada, Canadian students like ourselves going to the UK, going to Europe,
yeah,
or European students coming to Canada or Asia or whatever.
okay,
I think I think first of all, as a species, and humans, we move around,
yeah,
and right now our global economy, is not in the best state.
hmm,
But also at the same time, is like, have we ever been in a good state? So maybe right now we are in a good state, um, and I feel like with competition, I think ultimately international education gives you that competitive edge when you apply for jobs, when going through pursuing your career. And this competitive edge is here to stay. And by extension, international education is going to stay. But now, how is international education being done, going to be conducted? How many international students do we take to Canada? Do we bring into Canada? How many Canadian students or US students are going to Europe? How many European students are coming to Canada or China?
right.
And the quality of these students, I think, are about to change.
What do you
I
mean by that?
think okay, as you can see, let's talk about Canada first. I mean, right now, we are tightening our immigration sort of measures.
Hmm.
We're cutting down on study permits and work permits.
Yeah.
We're cutting down on the number of temporary residents. So I feel like from this point forward in Canada,
Hmm.
as a receiver, as a destination country,
Hmm.
students who come from abroad, be it from Asian countries or from European countries, from African countries, I think the quality will be higher. Like you said, wealthy kids come here and they a lot of them do work very hard.
Yeah.
They go to well-known, reputable institutions and programs, and they pursue their education here.
Hmm.
But a lot of these language schools or these private institutions are not so credible,
Hmm.
and people come here on false pretenses, or they come here for other reasons, and then or they go to UBC and they're just not the brightest kids in the world, and that's a-okay. I feel like if you look at the changes we've had to our immigration system, specifically to our international education,
Hmm.
this segment of immigration, I you know I feel like the student coming in from this point forward would be at a much higher quality. Like they're smarter, they're brighter, and obviously need to have the financial wherewithals. And they're able to, should they wish to stay in Canada after education,
Yeah.
they will be able to make positive contributions towards our Canadian society, our economy, our tax systems, our social welfare system, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes to Europe. I mean, you went through the experience, I went through the experience. When I was in the UK, it was right after the global financial crisis, European sovereign debt crisis, and every European country they were tightening their immigration measures and policies. So when I went to the UK on a tier 4 visa, and after graduation, there was no such thing as a postgraduate work visa. There was nothing. And I had to go through other hoops. I had to go through a fight for my right to stay in the UK after graduation.
Right.
And luckily, I got these opportunities because I have the competences, I have the skills, I have the whatever. But now, like the experience that you're going through, obviously you're educated, you have a skill, you have a knowledge, and you can stay. So I feel like every country is tightening up. And I think that's going to be the general trend. And because of this tightening up, I feel like international education, the nature of it is going to change a bit. The composition of it, the dynamic of it is going to change a little bit. But international education is here to stay. I just sent my sister off to the UK last September, and she's doing a dual law degree, English law and French law, at UCL in Paris 2. And it's here to stay. And she wants to stay in London. She wants to have an international legal career, and I say, good for her, go for it. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting just because the current tightening of immigration is really, really gonna change the business aspect of the international students going into different countries and schools and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I think like schools will have to really think about how they wanna let students come into this institutions either by different type of grades,
Yeah.
requirements,
Hmm.
ELTs and stuff like that. I think those are just
Hmm.
things that they might need to rethink about
Yeah.
internationally because especially in countries like Canada since it's made up of immigrants like I know that we're tightening policies
Mm.
but I don't think it's something that we can like close 100%,
No,
right?
definitely
Yeah.
not. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I think you're right because ultimately, immigration policy is at the hand of the federal government
Yeah.
or any level of the government, right? And we, as various players or various stakeholders in this process, in this game, if you
Yeah.
will, we have to adjust accordingly,
Yeah.
right? So this means, as for me, as an agent, as a middleman, I will have fewer clients. But what, which is, I guess, bad. But the good thing about this is that I know that from this point forward, the clients I'll be getting, the students I'll be getting, are of higher quality. They're smarter, they're brighter, they want to work hard. They are, they do community service, they do volunteering, they have leadership skills, etc. And I guess for these institutions, the education providers, be it, universities, colleges, or high schools, be it public or private, they have to think about, the quota that are being placed upon them,
Yeah.
how they wish to change their admission and intake procedures and processes,
Hmm.
and how are they going to compensate for this drop of, influx of money, basically, the
Yeah.
decrease of money.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, rightfully said so, international students do bring a lot of income to outrageous amount of income
Yeah.
to, yeah, you said UBC, UT is worse, to Canadian education
Or
providers.
just the
So
economy.
how are they, which is the economy, so how are they going to adjust? And whilst they're adjusting, or once they have adjusted, is that going to change the education field? Is that going to change the quality of education towards us or towards all students? So these are all questions that, each player, each party needs to think thoroughly about and make good choices.
Do you think your clients would really select different institution a little bit more differently now versus previously because of like the regulations and be like, oh, I guess if Canada's tightening their borders, maybe I'll go to, I don't know, like UK or like I'll go to Australia as like a different option. It's still an international degree slash education. The way that you
I
would
think,
consult with them is a little bit different, right?
I think yes and no. I think it's going back to what I was saying earlier. This whole tightening thing is a global trend.
Yeah.
It's not an action of an individual country.
No.
It's a global trend. I feel like it's here to stay for the next 5, 10, if not 20 years. So Australia's doing it, Canada's doing it, UK's doing it. But at the same time, they're also opening the doors to highly talented students or graduates or workers.
Hmm.
So it's only tightening it for the general public, for students who don't want to achieve their potentials or they don't do well academically or they don't work well professionally. But they are opening a lot of doors.
Mm,
One set of door closes, another set opens. It's always like that. So I
100%.
don't
Yeah.
see this as a crisis. Like I said, we are in the process of change,
Yeah.
but I do see opportunities as well.
Mm. Well, let's hope
Hmm.
these opportunities continue for you, for your flourishing family business.
Hmm.
I love
Thank you.
seeing your success on social media all the time. And speaking of social media, you
Hmm.
have also mentioned that you have side projects. I want to
Hmm.
know, what are we looking at? Like you shared some snippets of it. It looks beautiful. It looks
Hmm.
grand. It's a film.
Hmm.
Can you share anything about it? Because
Sure, yeah.
you're releasing it
Um,
when?
Towards the end of the year.
Okay, so I think this episode will probably release before that. So yeah, give us like
Yeah.
a snippet.
Okay. Perfect. I'll plug my commercial here. So one of my side projects, you know, I am a huge art lover, art connoisseur, if you will.
Mm.
I have in my little collection, I collect a lot of antique books, maps, objets d'art, rare objects, and stuff like that, which is a very, very old habit, if you will. So I shot a movie, and which is basically a big business card, a big promo material for the brand I'm about to build, which is the brand is called Festina Lente, which is in Latin maxim, and it translates to make haste slowly. So it's an oxymoron. It's like hurry up, but
Oh,
slowly.
yeah.
And it's I had this epiphany. I embraced this philosophy, this maxim, um, 10 years ago when I visited Florence for the X amount of time. Because we all live in a very fast-paced world. We are bombarded with information on social media, on news media, with books, with this and with that. And, and obviously I live a very busy life, hectic life. And sometimes this fast pace can be quite overwhelming,
Yeah.
not in the sense that I can manage it, but in the sense that I feel like I missed out a lot of good things. So my mantra, my life philosophy, the way how I travel, the way how I appreciate beauty and experience art and experience nice things is fascinante. It's like, yes, hurry up and do things, but at the same time to slow down. And this project has actually been 6 years in the making. It went from random thoughts on my diary during COVID because I couldn't travel. I was stranded in Austria. I couldn't travel. So I didn't have that sort of, intellectual and emotional outlet.
Yeah.
It went from random journal entries to an Instagram account to a book to a documentary and now to a documentary feature. So I had a fantastic, passionate team. They're younger than me. They're very passionate. They're in their 20s and they're very talented individual.
Hmm.
And we shot this movie across 3 continents in 6 different cities in Shenyang, which is my hometown in China, in Vancouver, in London, in Sicily, in Naples, in Florence, and in Istanbul.
Okay.
And basically, I'm the presenter. I am sharing my life experience and sharing how I got to met this concept of Festinolante and how it has benefited me and how now I want to, share this life philosophy, way of doing things, way of experiencing beauty with you. So we shot this and we're very excited. We just finished editing last week. So now we are working on the trailers. And yeah, so everything should be out on towards the end of the year. So I'm very excited for this to be released.
Oh, I'm so excited to see it. How long is the whole documentary?
It's only 40 minutes long.
Okay.
It's very personal, but at the same time, I'm also promoting a philosophy, a maxim, a way of life, basically, that I think a lot of people would identify with.
Yeah. I've seen so many
Hmm.
cute images on it, and some of them are just spectacular of the entire city and of the people. And you look so good. The outfits
Thank you.
and oh gosh,
Thank you. Yeah.
we say
Yeah,
art.
yeah, no, I have a great director. This guy, I don't know what's going on in his brain. When we first met,
Mm.
we met throughout my assistant, which is also the producer for this documentary. And, I first met him at a coffee shop and I didn't even have my script ready, but it was just my assistant giving him some broad strokes of, what this is about. And he gave me this beautiful idea, conceptualization of everything. And I'm just like, this guy is amazing. I'm not a very creative person.
You are
Like I
now.
said, I mean, I am now. Never in my life I thought I'll be a filmmaker, but voila, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will be the documentary series. The documentary feature is in Chinese,
Mm.
Italian, and English, but it's going to be English subtitles throughout. Now, the reason why I chose to have Chinese in it is, staying it true to myself, being more a little bit authentic because it's a very, very personal documentary. I'm really, sharing my life stories.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see baby pictures of me if you're interested.
Oh,
So I felt like, yeah, yeah, it's kind of cute photos.
can't wait.
So I thought, speaking Chinese would stay true to my authentic
Yeah.
selves. And obviously, this movie, I'm very grateful we had support from the Italian Ministry of Culture. They were fully on board. We were able to shoot in a lot of museums, in places after hours. So we shot in Museo de' Medici, Museo di San Marco, Museo di Capodimonte. So we were very, very grateful for, you know, the amount of support that we see from governmental bodies and public institutions and private institutions for this rather indie project. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Where are you going to release it? Is it going to be like Asian films, certain like film festivals?
I think ultimately, yeah. So we're trying to submit to a few film festivals, both in Europe, in Canada, and also in Turkey, because my director is Turkish Canadian,
Mm.
and a huge chunk of it was shot in Istanbul. Yeah, so we're trying to submit to film festivals, and then ultimately the film would be on YouTube for free, on YouTube, on Chinese equivalent of YouTube. I want make art and beautiful things free to everyone. I think I think one of the main reason I did this was because I feel like art is very aloof, it's very detached from modern society, from our
Hmm.
generations. And I want to democratize art. I want to make art accessible.
Yeah.
Bring art down from its ivory tower, but all whilst maintaining its classicism, its beauty. I want more people to be able to see art. Unfortunately, our generations, we don't go to opera ballets anymore.
No.
We only go to galleries and museums when we're traveling at the very best.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've lost so many timeless beauty.
Hmm.
If you look at Renaissance, if you look at, neoclassicism, if you look at, Greco-Roman, arts, we lost touch with so many beautiful things. And I feel like it's as an art lover, as culture worker, if you will, it's my job to do my little part to make art more accessible. So going back to your questions, at the end of the day, it will be on YouTube, it will be on the Chinese equivalent of YouTube, and it will be free for all. So hit that HD button and watch it in HD, project it on your screen.
I can't
I
wait.
will be doing some private screening in China, in Europe, and also in Canada, but that's probably going to be really the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year.
Mm. Okay. That sounds great. I can't wait because you shared like a little bit snippets with me and voila and beautiful is the words that kept coming out of my mouth when I
Mhm.
saw it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
I want
much.
to close this with some rapid fire questions just for
Sure.
fun. Change the vibe a little bit, if you don't mind.
Cool. Mhm.
Um, so who is someone that you look up to or consider as a role model in your life?
Oh, definitely my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to give me a little
Do you want me
quick
to?
why?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would say, I don't know, JFK or Napoleon or Martin Luther King. I think they're great. They're great role models. They are, and they make great contribution to our society,
Hmm.
to our humanity in general. But my mom is my role model. Like, she is such a simple yet complex character. She made a lot of sacrifices for her husband, for her son, and for this family, and she supported us,
Yeah.
and without compromising her own life and her own success. Um, and I feel like that's really, yeah, applaudable, admirable. So she is, yeah. She taught me a lot of things I know about my life. I am basically a replica of my mom.
Wow, go mama. She
Yeah,
must be so proud of you.
Mama Fu is a great lady, fantastic
I
lady.
hope I get to meet her one day.
Pleasure.
What is one of your favorite places in Europe that holds a special memory?
Um, Budapest, Hungary. Um, I came to Budapest for the first time in February of 2012. I remember I flew in from Geneva after some conference and Berlin after some parties. Um, it was snowing, the Danube was a little bit icy,
Ooh.
and it brought me and I saw the big central market. Have you been to Budapest
Yeah,
before?
yeah, I've been once. It's beautiful.
You know the big central farmers market on at the end of the fifth district, right?
Yeah.
And that brought me back to my childhood. I have a very fantasized, idealized version of communist sort of childhood,
Oh.
and being able to be living in such communal environments. Farmers bring their fresh produce from their garden, from their field, and sell sausages and meat and seafood and veggies and fruits, and that just brought me into that vibe, and
Uh,
I have that yearning for that, and I have the saudade, if in Portuguese, if you will, for that, and yeah, so it was a really, really good experience.
yeah. Budapest is actually like my
Mhm.
top five cities I've ever been to in Europe so far. It's like a city that I was not expecting that I would fall in love with. Like the food is really good,
Mhm.
the prices are good, people are great, the
Mhm.
views are fantastic. So for anyone that who hasn't been there, I would recommend it.
Oh, go for it. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, go to Budapest. I'll be your local guide.
do it.
Budapest is my second home. I can drive without a GPS, so I'm very proud of that.
Wow, that's amazing. I should have hollowed you up when I was there, but next time, next time.
Yeah, next time, next time.
Since you travel so much, if you could settle in one city for good, where would it be?
Lisbon.
Oh, okay.
I have a thing for Portuguese. I have a thing for anything Portugal.
Pastel de
But I think
natas?
Lisbon is, but yeah, Pastel de Nata. I think Portugal, Lisbon as a city, it's a national capital, right?
Yeah.
It's a capital of a country. So, but it's not like Madrid or London or Paris. There's not so much hustle and bustle, if that makes sense. You have
True.
an airport, small airport,
Yeah.
although small, but you have international connections. You have everything that you need. You have the restaurants, you have the bar, you have the entertainment, you have the grocery stores, you have the local butcher, the seamstress, the dry cleaners, and everything. And when I set foot in Portugal in 2014 in July for the first time, I fell in love. I fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the people, very kind and friendly, and not very snobbish. And the food is amazing. And yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm
I've
obsessed.
also been there before. It's beautiful.
Lisbon is a beautiful city.
Yeah.
The seafood is
I
amazing.
haven't had the
The
seafood yet.
music. Oh,
I've
the
only had
seafood
fish there.
definitely.
Okay.
Fish, shellfish, lobsters, crabs, and
Oh,
everything.
okay.
They're all very good. Yeah, and the meat goes. I'm not a huge red meat eater, but the food there, the steak is very good. Every time I go to Lisbon, definitely a steak.
Mm, okay.
Mhm.
Since you're in Europe so much, what is your favorite European cuisine?
Oh, that's a hard one. So it's a hard choice between Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, and Greek. But I'm gonna go with Italian.
Italian? I think that's a good choice. That's a good choice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I always joke with my friends. I said I'm not really Chinese. I'm not really Canadian. I'm half Portuguese, half Italian. Born during the Renaissance, minus the plague, the war, and the bigotry.
Last one. What is your top favorite Asian restaurant, um, and European restaurant in Vancouver?
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna lie, I don't eat out very often in Vancouver because
What?
I live. No, I don't. I only eat out when I have a work dinner
Okay.
or something, work lunch. But okay, a good European one would be Le Collier on Burrard Street. It's a Michelin guide or one-star French restaurant, and they make good French food there. But like I said, anything on Commercial Drive is good. That's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
You have Italian, Portuguese, the Croatian Culture Center. I have very fond childhood memory from there.
Mm.
For Asian, I would go for Miku
Oh,
by
yes. Yeah.
Waterfront, right? Or a good Chinese would be the seaport city on Canby, where the SkyTrain station is? They make pretty good dim sum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That place is
Um,
good too.
you know that one, right? The upstairs,
Yeah.
right? With the parking lot downstairs and
Yeah.
yeah, right across the above TD and right across, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Their dim sum is really good and they have good chicken feet.
Love chicken feet. Give me all the chicken feet.
I love chicken feet. Oh God, I love it. But yeah, but anything in Richmond is good.
Oh, amazing.
The food here is good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I really miss Vancouver food, to be honest. I
Hmm.
always miss all the quality Asian food that Vancouver offers compared to, you
Hmm.
can't compare it to Asia, but like in terms of Western, Vancouver food is very good. In closing, where can our listeners find you and support you? If you would like to
Oh,
plug.
perfect. Oh yeah, definite plug. So for my work is iec.ca, IEEC.ca. I also have an Instagram account at IEC.ca. For my movie, is I have an IG account called Festinalante Sempre, FESTINALENTE SEMPER. Which means in Latin to make haste slowly but always. So yeah, that's you can always find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email and let's chat. I love to connect with like-minded individuals, so my inbox is open.
Find him, guys. He's worth it. I will link all of that in my show notes. And with that, thank you so much for your valuable time with me and this passion project of mine, Roy.
Hmm.
When you come back and we're within the vicinity of each other, please hang out with me again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, no
And it
problem.
was great chatting with you as usual.
Thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
joining me on Slice of Anecdote. Remember to subscribe, give Slice of Anecdote a fabulous spread of word and review. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.